I stared at my reflection in the rearview mirror, adjusting my simple pearl necklace, the only piece of jewelry I allowed myself to wear at family gatherings. The familiar knot of anxiety tightened in my stomach as I pulled up to my parents' sprawling suburban home. Another Sunday dinner, another round of subtle jabs and disappointment. At 32, I, Sophia Chen, was the family's designated failure. Not because I wasn't successful, I was not in the way they measured success. While my older brother Michael flaunted his MBA and his position as CEO of his own tech startup, I had chosen a different path. "You're late," my mother said as she opened the door, her tone carrying that familiar edge of disapproval. "Everyone's already here." I stepped into the foyer, the scent of her signature beef bourguignon filling the air. Through the archway, I could see Michael holding court in the living room, his perfectly tailored suit and Rolex watch gleaming as he gestured animatedly. His wife Diana sat beside him, her designer dress probably worth more than my entire wardrobe. "Ah, the prodigal daughter arrives." Michael's voice boomed across the room. "How's the little shop doing, Soph?" My little shop was actually Somerset Street Antiques, a business I'd built from scratch 5 years ago. I specialized in rare books and historical documents, though my family still thought I just sold dusty furniture to retirees. "It's doing well," I said simply, accepting a glass of wine from my father. I did mention that I'd just closed a deal on a first edition Hemingway worth more than Michael's car. "Still can't believe you gave up investment banking for that." Michael shook his head. "Remember when we were kids? Everyone thought you'd be the next Wall Street star." I did remember. I'd spent 3 years at Goldman Sachs, making my family proud but feeling my soul slowly die with each 100-hour week. The day I quit to pursue my passion for antiquities, my father didn't speak to me for a month. "Some of us prefer different measures of success," I replied, taking a careful sip of wine. "Different measures?" Michael laughed. "Is that what we're calling it now? Come on, Soph, you're barely making ends meet in that dusty little store while I'm about to close a deal that'll put my company on the NASDAQ." Diana touched his arm, her diamond rings catching the light. "Darling, tell them about the expansion plans." Michael's face lit up. "Right? We're going global. Just need to secure some additional funding. Meeting with First Metropolitan Bank tomorrow about $1 million loan. Once that's done, we'll be unstoppable." I felt a slight smile tugging at my lips, but kept my expression neutral. "First Metropolitan Bank, of course." "That's wonderful, son," my father beamed. "Always knew you had it in you. A real businessman, just like your old man." My mother nodded proudly. All those long hours paid off. Not everyone has the discipline for real success. The subtle dig wasn't lost on me. In their eyes, I'd taken the easy way out, choosing a simple life over ambition. They had no idea about the other life I'd built, the one I kept carefully hidden from their judgmental eyes. "Speaking of success," Michael turned to me, his smile condescending. "Isn't it time you considered selling that shop? I could use someone with your background in my company. Entry-level position, of course, but it's a foot in the door." Diana nodded enthusiastically. "You could even keep the antique thing as a hobby, something to do on weekends." I set my wine glass down carefully. "I'm happy where I am." "Happy?" Michael scoffed. "Sophia, you're working in a shop that probably makes less in a year than I spend on suits. That's not happiness, that's settling." Our mother chimed in from the kitchen. "He's right, dear. We worry about your future. No retirement plan, no real assets. If they only knew about the 3 properties I owned in the city's historic district, or the substantial investment portfolio I'd built through years of careful antiquities trading." But I'd learned long ago that trying to defend myself only invited more criticism. "Dinner's ready," my mother announced, saving me from having to respond. "Michael, why don't you say grace?" Around the dinner table, the conversation continued to revolve around Michael's upcoming loan meeting. He outlined his business expansion plans with characteristic swagger, barely touching his food as he gestured excitedly. "First Metropolitan's going to be impressed," he declared. "I've got projections showing 300% growth in the first year alone." I pushed my roasted potatoes around my plate, thinking about the stack of loan applications sitting on my desk at the bank. Applications I would be reviewing tomorrow morning. "They'd be fools not to fund you," our father agreed. "Son, you're going to make us all proud tomorrow." Unlike some people, Diana added with a pointed look in my direction, who never reached their full potential. I felt my father's disappointed gaze. It's not too late, Sophia. Michael's offer is generous. You could learn so much working for him. Thank you, I said quietly, but I actually have some meetings of my own tomorrow. Michael laughed. What's some old lady wanting to sell her grandmother's china? Come on, Soph, it's time to join the real world. I stood up, my chair scraping against the hardwood floor. I should go, early day tomorrow. Running away as usual, my mother sighed. Sophia, when will you grow up and face reality? As I gathered my things, Michael called out, Hey, if your meetings fall through, come by First Metropolitan around 10. You can watch your big brother in action, maybe learn something about real business. I paused at the door, allowing myself a small smile. You know what? I might just do that. Driving home to my carefully restored Victorian townhouse, the one my family had never seen, I thought about the next day's meeting. About Michael walking into my office, expecting to find some stuffy old banker, only to discover his failure of a sister sitting behind the director's desk. What my family didn't know was that I hadn't exactly given up finance. While Somerset Street Antiques was genuinely successful, it was also the perfect cover for my other role, Director of Special Acquisitions at First Metropolitan Bank, overseeing a portfolio worth billions. I'd worked my way up quietly over the past 5 years, earning a reputation for spotting unique investment opportunities in art and antiquities. The bank's board had created the position specifically for me after I helped them acquire a collection that doubled their private banking division's assets. Tomorrow, Michael would learn that his little sister hadn't settled for less. She had simply chosen to succeed on her own terms. And his $1 million loan, well, that would depend entirely on whether his business plan was as solid as his ego. I poured myself a glass of wine in my home office, surrounded by rare first editions and carefully curated artifacts. On my desk sat Michael's loan application, covered in red marks highlighting questionable projections and risky assumptions. Tomorrow would certainly be interesting. The next morning, I arrived at First Metropolitan Bank through the private entrance, nodding to security as I made my way to the executive floor. My assistant, Thomas, was already waiting with my usual coffee and a stack of meeting briefs. Your brother's team arrived early, he said, trying to hide his smile. They're in the main conference room. Mr. Peterson asked if you'd like him to start the preliminary meeting. I checked my reflection in the glass wall of my office, adjusting my Chanel suit, the one piece of designer clothing I allow myself for important meetings. No, I'll handle this personally. Give me 10 minutes, then send them to my office. My office occupied the corner of the building with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. The space was deliberately decorated with museum-quality antiques, including a 17th-century partner's desk that had once belonged to a Medici banker. Most clients assumed they were bank property. Only I knew each piece had come from my own collection. I settled behind my desk and opened Michael's loan application again. The numbers were exactly what I'd expected: overly optimistic projections, hidden risks, and the kind of aggressive growth estimates that had doomed countless startups. Right on schedule, Thomas knocked on my door. Ms. Chen, your 10 o'clock is here. I could hear Michael's voice in the hallway, loud and confident. Look, I appreciate the formalities, but I'm sure once your director sees these projections. He stepped into my office and froze mid-sentence. Diana, following close behind him, nearly crashed into his back. The color drained from my brother's face. Sophia? Good morning, Michael, I said calmly. Please have a seat. Diana found her voice first. What? What are you doing here? This must be some mistake. No mistake, I replied, gesturing to the chairs in front of my desk. I'm the Director of Special Acquisitions at First Metropolitan. Now, shall we discuss your loan application? Michael remained standing, his expensive suit suddenly looking too tight. This is a joke, right? You sell old furniture in a shop downtown. I do own Somerset Street Antiques, I acknowledge. It's a profitable business that I genuinely enjoy. But this, I gestured to my office, this is where I make my real investments. Impossible, he whispered. You can't be. I pulled out his loan application. Your proposal projects 300% growth in the first year. Rather ambitious, considering your current market position and the sector's average growth rate of 12%. Michael finally sank into a chair. How long have you 5 years, I said. The same amount of time I've owned the antique shop. The same period you spent mocking my career choices at every family dinner. Diana's perfectly manicured hand clutched her designer handbag. But you never said anything. All those times you implied I was a failure. I finished for her. Yes, I remember them quite clearly. Page 47 of your proposal, for instance, reminds me of last Christmas when you suggested I should consider a career in retail since I was so good at running a little shop. My brother's face had shifted from shock to something approaching desperation. Sophia, listen about all that. We were just concerned about you. Family looking out for family, you know? Really? I raised an eyebrow. Like last night when you offered me an entry-level position out of pay. I opened a folder on my desk, removing several papers covered in red ink. Your company's financials show some concerning patterns. Your burn rate is nearly triple the industry standard. Your customer acquisition costs are unsustainable, and your technological infrastructure seems to be built entirely on outdated systems. Those are temporary. Michael began, but I held up my hand. I'm not finished. Your current debt-to-equity ratio is problematic, and your last 3 quarters show a pattern of declining margins that you've attempted to obscure through creative accounting. Diana reached for Michael's arm. Darling, perhaps we should. Furthermore, I continued, your proposed expansion plan ignores several key market indicators. Did you really think we wouldn't notice that your Asian market projections are based on outdated data from 2019? Michael's face had turned an interesting shade of red. How did you? It's my job to know these things, I said simply, just like it's my job to protect this bank's investments from high-risk ventures with questionable leadership. Questionable leadership. Michael stood up, his composure finally cracking. I built this company from nothing. Just because you've somehow lucked your way into this position doesn't give you the right to. Lucked my way in. I felt my professional mask slip slightly. I earned this position by understanding something you never did, Michael. True success isn't about flashy presentations and inflated projections. It's about substance, careful analysis, and genuine value. I stood up, walking to one of my display cases. See this book? It's a first edition Adam Smith, The Wealth of Nations. I authenticated it myself last year. Its value isn't in its ornate binding or its age, but in the fundamental truths it contains about market forces and real value. What does this have to do with my loan? Michael demanded. Everything, I replied. Your business model, like your understanding of my career, is all surface and no substance. You're so focused on appearing successful that you've forgotten to build something of actual value. Diana suddenly stood up. We should go, Michael. Clearly, your sister is letting personal feelings interfere with her professional judgment. I almost laughed. On the contrary, if I were letting personal feelings interfere, I might approve this loan despite its obvious flaws. That would be nepotism, wouldn't it? The very thing that's driven most of your career decisions. What's that supposed to mean? Michael's voice had turned dangerous. It means, I said, returning to my desk, that I've reviewed every step of your career. The convenient introductions from Dad's golf buddies. The contracts that mysteriously went your way after family friends intervened. Even your MBA thesis, which bears a striking resemblance to a paper published 2 years earlier by one of Dad's colleagues. Michael's face went pale. You wouldn't. No, I wouldn't, I agreed. Because unlike you, I don't believe in using family connections, positively or negatively, to influence business decisions. So I'm going to do something professional instead. I pressed the intercom. Thomas, please bring in the alternative proposal. My assistant entered with another folder, which I handed to Michael. This is a restructuring plan for your company. Follow it, and you might qualify for a smaller loan in 6 months. Ignore it, and I suspect you'll be looking for new investors before the year is out. You're denying the loan. Michael's voice cracked. I'm offering you something more valuable, I corrected him. An opportunity to build something real. Whether you take it is up to you. Diana tugged at Michael's sleeve. Come on, we can try Pacific Union Bank. They're more reasonable. Pacific Union won't give you the loan either, I said calmly, because their director of commercial lending plays golf with me and we both use the same risk assessment metrics. Michael stared at me as if seeing me for the first time. How did you? All these years, how did we not know? Because you never asked. I said simply. You were so convinced you knew what success looked like that you never bothered to look past the surface. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have another meeting. Thomas will show you out. After they left, I stood at my window, watching the city below. My phone buzzed. A text from our mother. Michael just called. We need to talk. Family dinner tonight. I smiled, typing back, can't tonight. Have to evaluate a collection of rare Byzantine coins. Maybe next week. Then I turned back to my desk, where other loan applications awaited my review. Real success, I'd learned, wasn't about proving people wrong. It was about being right for yourself, even when no one else could see it. Later that evening, as I closed up Somerset Street Antiques, the business I still ran with pride despite my other role, I thought about success and its many definitions. My brother measured it in loans and stock options. My parents counted it in social status and country club memberships. But true success, that was having the strength to build something authentic, even when everyone tells you you're wrong. It was finding value in the things others overlooked, whether that meant rare books or overlooked investment opportunities. I locked the shop's door, breathing in the familiar scent of old leather and wood polish. Tomorrow, the bank's board would announce my promotion to executive vice president. Next month, Somerset Street Antiques would open its second location. And Michael? He would ever learn from this experience or continue chasing the appearance of success while missing its substance. But that was his journey to figure out. I had my own path to follow, one that didn't need anyone else's validation to be worthy. As I walked to my car, my phone buzzed again. A message from Michael. I read your restructuring plan. Can we talk? Just us. Perhaps there was hope for him after all.
I parked my 2010 Toyota Camry between my cousin Marcus's Ferrari and my sister Victoria's Mercedes, already knowing what was coming. The annual Thompson family dinner was more of a wealth competition than a family gathering, and I'd been cast as the perpetual loser. Straightening my simple black dress, bought off the rack at Nordstrom, not custom-made like Victoria's, I grabbed the bottle of wine I'd brought. It was a $2,000 Chateau Lafite Rothschild, not that anyone would notice. They'd already decided everything about me based on my car. Julia, my mother's voice carried across the driveway of her sprawling mansion. You're late. And, oh, you're still driving that car. I forced a smile. Hello, Mother. Inside, the usual suspects were already assembled. Victoria showing off her latest diamond bracelet to our cousin Emma. Marcus loudly discussing his hedge fund's recent success. Aunt Patricia critiquing everyone's life choices while sipping expensive champagne. Jules. Marcus called out using the nickname I hated. Still slumming it in that startup job? If he only knew that my startup job was actually my own company, Thompson Tech Solutions, currently valued at $4.2 billion. But they didn't need to know that. Not yet. The car's still running okay? Victoria added with fake concern. I know a great dealer if you're finally ready to upgrade. Though you might need to check your credit score first. I set my wine bottle on the kitchen counter, watching as my mother immediately replaced it with something from her own collection. My $2,000 bottle would probably end up in her cooking. Julia's just practical, my mother said diplomatically. Not everyone needs luxury items to be happy. The way she said practical made it sound like a terminal illness. I checked my phone, confirming what I already knew. My company's stock had jumped another 15% today after our latest acquisition. The transaction that would shock my entire family was nearly complete. Did you hear about Victoria's promotion? My father jumped in. Junior VP at Morgan Stanley. And Marcus just closed a $50 million deal for his fund. That's wonderful, I said, taking a seat at the massive dining table. Congratulations. Emma leaned forward, her designer dress probably worth more than what they thought I made in a month. Julia dear, I know a great financial advisor. You really should start thinking about your future. My future. I suppressed a smile, thinking about the meeting I'd had this morning with my board of directors. We just acquired our biggest competitor for $3.1 billion. A deal I'd orchestrated while my family thought I was struggling at some entry-level tech job. Thanks, Emma. I'll think about it. The dinner proceeded as usual. Victoria detailed her recent trip to the Maldives. Marcus bragged about his new vacation home in Aspen. My mother expertly directed the conversation to highlight everyone's successes while glossing over my apparent lack thereof. "Julia's doing her best," she'd say whenever anyone asked about me. "She's always been different. Different. Because I'd chosen to build something from scratch instead of following their prescribed path of investment banking or law. Because I'd lived modestly while secretly growing my company into a tech giant. Because I'd never felt the need to prove my worth through designer labels and luxury cars." "At least tell me you're dating someone successful," Aunt Patricia prodded. "You're not getting any younger, dear." I thought about Daniel, the brilliant engineer I'd been seeing for 6 months. They'd probably be shocked to learn he was worth over $200 million from his own tech ventures. But like me, he preferred keeping a low profile. "Just focusing on work right now," I replied. Victoria rolled her eyes. "Of course you are. Though what kind of work can you really be doing at, what's the company called again?" "Thompson Tech Solutions," I said quietly. "Never heard of it," Marcus declared. "Must be one of those little startup things that'll be gone in a year." If he'd bothered to read any financial news, he'd know that Thompson Tech Solutions was revolutionizing artificial intelligence and cloud computing. We'd been featured in Forbes 3 times this year alone. "Speaking of work," Victoria raised her voice slightly, "guess who just got approved for the Morgan Stanley Executive Car Program? I'm thinking either a Bentley or a Rolls." "Definitely the Bentley," Emma chimed in. "Julia, what made you choose that Toyota? Was it the high safety rating?" They laughed and I let them. Let them think I chose my car out of necessity rather than preference. Let them assume I couldn't afford better, rather than choosing to invest my money in building an empire. "The Camry's reliable," I said simply. "Oh honey," my mother sighed. "You know your father and I could help you with a down payment on something more appropriate for a Thompson." I took a sip of wine, thinking about the 3 houses I owned free and clear, including a beachfront property in Malibu that cost more than their entire car collection. "I'm fine, Mother." "Are you though?" Victoria pressed. "I mean, look at your clothes, your car, your whole situation. Don't you want more from life?" I thought about my company's current market cap, the thousands of employees who depended on me, the technological innovations we were developing that would change the world. "I'm content with my choices." Marcus snorted into his wine glass. "Content with mediocrity. Typical Jules." That's when my phone buzzed. The caller ID showed my assistant's name, Angela. She knew not to interrupt family dinner unless it was urgent. "Excuse me," I said, standing up. "I need to take this." "Really, Julia?" My mother frowned. "It's rude to take calls at dinner." I stepped away from the table anyway, feeling their judgmental stares. "Angela? What's wrong?" "Miss Thompson, I'm sorry to interrupt, but there's an issue with the jet. The maintenance team in Dubai needs your approval for some upgrades before your flight to Singapore next week." I could feel Victoria trying to eavesdrop. "The jet?" she whispered to Emma. "Must be her company's courier service or something." If they only knew the courier service was my personal Gulfstream G650. "Tell them to proceed with the upgrades," I said clearly, watching their expressions shift from dismissive to confused. "And make sure the pilot files the flight plan for Singapore with a stopover in Tokyo. I have that meeting with our Japanese investors." The table had gone silent. Even Marcus had stopped mid-brag. "Also," Angela continued, "Mr. Chin from the board wanted to confirm your availability for tomorrow's press conference about the acquisition." "Yes, I'll be there. Make sure the PR team has the statement ready about our $3.1 billion purchase of Maxtech Industries." I heard a wine glass shatter. Victoria's perfectly manicured hand had slipped, sending her burgundy spreading across her designer dress. Is that all, Angela? Just one more thing. Forbes wants to update your net worth for their 40 under 40 list. Should I give them the current figure or wait until after the acquisition goes public?" I turned back to the table, meeting their shocked stares. "Let's wait. The stock jump from today's news should be interesting." I hung up, tucking my phone away as I returned to my seat. The silence was deafening. My mother's fork hung halfway to her mouth. Marcus's face had lost its smug smile. Emma was frantically Googling on her phone, probably searching for Thompson Tech Solutions. "Julia, my father finally managed. What was that about a jet?" I took another sip of wine, savoring the moment I'd been waiting for all these years. "Oh, didn't I mention? I need to cut dinner short. I have a flight to catch. The silence that followed felt like it could shatter glass. Victoria was the first to recover, her wine-stained dress forgotten. You're lying, she accused, her voice shrill. This is some kind of joke. I pulled out my phone again, opening the Bloomberg app. Thomson Tech Solutions current market cap $4.2 billion. Sue, Julia Thompson. I slid the phone across the table. Feel free to fact-check. Marcus grabbed the phone, his hands actually shaking. This can't be right. You're nothing. You drive a Camry. Because I choose to, I replied calmly. Unlike some people, I don't need expensive cars to prove my worth. Emma was still frantically Googling. Oh my God, she whispered. She's telling the truth. Julia's on Forbes 30 Under 30. She's been on CNBC. There are articles about her everywhere. My mother's face had gone pale. But why didn't you tell us? All these years. Would it have mattered? I asked, thinking of all the family dinners where they talked over me, dismissed my career, treated me like their collective failure. You never asked what I actually did. You were too busy bragging about Victoria's entry-level banking job or Marcus's small hedge fund. Small. Marcus sputtered. I manage $50 million. I couldn't help but laugh. That's cute. I signed off on $100 million in bonuses last quarter alone. My father cleared his throat, his business instincts finally kicking in. Princess, perhaps we should discuss some investment opportunities. Now that we know about your success. No. I cut him off firmly. I'm not your princess anymore. That stopped the day you told me I was embarrassing the family by starting my own company instead of joining Morgan Stanley with Victoria. Victoria flinched at the memory. She'd been there when our father had that conversation with me, smirking as he detailed all the ways I was disappointing the Thompson name. But that's what family does, my mother protested weakly. We help each other. Really? I raised an eyebrow. Like when you helped Victoria with the down payment on her Mercedes while telling me I needed to learn financial responsibility? Or when you funded Marcus's startup fund but called my business plan unrealistic? Aunt Patricia, never one to miss an opportunity, leaned forward. Darling, now that we know about your position, you simply must join the country club. I'll sponsor you myself. The same country club that rejected my application last year because my car wasn't appropriate? I smiled coldly. I bought it last month. The members just don't know yet. Another wine glass hit the table too hard. This time it was Marcus's. My phone buzzed again. It was Daniel. Your pilot called me, his text read. Want me to bring the Aston Martin to pick you up instead of the usual cars? I texted back. No, let's stick to the plan. The Camry's perfect for tonight. Julia. Victoria's voice had taken on a syrupy sweetness I recognized from childhood. The tone she used when she wanted something. I've actually been thinking about leaving Morgan Stanley. Maybe we could discuss some opportunities at your company. You mean the little startup thing that'll be gone in a year? I quoted Marcus's earlier words. I think we're fully staffed. Emma jumped in, ever the opportunist. You know, I've always been interested in tech. Really? I interrupted. Name one coding language. She fell silent, deflated. My mother was still struggling to process everything. But your clothes, your car, your apartment, are all choices, I finished for her. I could buy this house with one day's earnings. I could have any car I want. But unlike some people, I don't measure success by what I own. How much? My father asked bluntly. How much are you worth? I stood up, smoothing my off-the-rack dress. More than everyone at this table combined. Multiple times over. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Angela. Car's ready whenever you are, Miss Thompson. The board members in Singapore are eager to start the meeting. Thank you, Angela. I'm leaving now. I turned to my stunned family. This has been illuminating. But I have a company to run. Wait. Victoria called out desperately. You can't just drop this on us and leave. Why not? You've been dropping judgments on me for years. I picked up my purse. A simple leather tote that probably cost more than Victoria's flashy designer bags. Oh, and Mother? That wine you relegated to the cooking shelf? It's worth more than Marcus's monthly fund returns. As I walked toward the door, my father found his voice again. Julia, be reasonable. We're family. We should discuss this arrangement. I turned back one last time. The time for discussion was years ago when I needed support. No, I don't need anything from any of you. But we're blood, my mother pleaded. Blood doesn't excuse behavior, I replied. You all made your choices about how to treat me. Now you get to live with them. Outside, my faithful Camry waited. Behind me, I could hear the chaos erupting, Victoria's shrill demands, Marcus's protests, Emma's attempts to connect with me on LinkedIn from her phone. As I drove away, my mother ran out to the driveway. Julia, please, we can start over. I didn't stop. The next morning, my family's attempts to contact me started. First came the texts. Victoria, hey sis. Remember when I helped you with your college applications? Good times. Let's do lunch. Marcus, Jules. Got some amazing investment opportunities to discuss. Call me. Emma, LinkedIn says you're hiring. Coffee soon. Then the emails. Mother, darling, I've been thinking about all the wonderful memories we could make together now. Father, Princess, let's discuss how to integrate your success into the family's legacy. I forwarded them all to my assistant with one instruction: add to the blocked list. At the press conference announcing the MaxTech acquisition, a reporter asked about my modest lifestyle despite my wealth. Success isn't about what you own, I told her. It's about what you build. The story made headlines. Tech's secret billionaire, the CEO who drives a Camry. Victoria saw it and tried a new approach. I always knew you were special, sis. Remember how I used to let you borrow my clothes? I remembered. I also remembered how she told everyone I couldn't afford my own. Marcus attempted to pitch his fund to my board members, somehow getting their contact information. They sent his proposal straight to spam. My mother joined every charity board she could find, suddenly passionate about supporting young entrepreneurs. She made sure to mention her successful tech CEO daughter at every meeting. My father tried to leverage my success in his business circles, claiming he'd always supported Julia's vision. His colleagues who knew the truth just smiled politely. A month after the dinner, I received an invitation to the family's annual charity gala. The note read, "Special guest of honor, Julia Thompson, tech visionary." I sent back a simple response: unable to attend. Prior commitment in Singapore. I was actually in town that weekend working from my penthouse office while they posed for photos and pretended they'd always believed in me. Victoria gave an interview to the local paper about how she'd inspired her sister's success. Marcus told anyone who would listen about our close relationship. The truth? They hadn't inspired anything except my determination to succeed despite them. Last week, Victoria lost her job at Morgan Stanley, budget cuts. She sent me her resume with a note. Family first, right? Marcus's fund lost its biggest investor. He tried to schedule a meeting with my investment team. Emma's husband's business went under. She started posting motivational quotes about successful family connections on LinkedIn. I ignored them all. Instead, I focused on what mattered. Running my company, developing new technologies, creating jobs. The Camry still sits in my parking spot between Maseratis and Bentleys. My employees love it. It's become a symbol of our company culture. Success without showmanship. Yesterday, I overheard two of my junior developers talking. Is it true she's a billionaire who drives a Toyota? Yeah, and she wears normal clothes and lives in a regular apartment. But why? She could have anything. Because she doesn't need to prove anything to anyone. They get it. My family never will. This morning, I received another dinner invitation from my mother. The note mentioned she'd finally learned to properly store fine wine. I sent back the same bottle she'd relegated to cooking. A $2,000 Chateau Lafite Rothschild. The note read, "For your cooking shelf. I hear it adds excellent flavor to rejection letters." Sometimes success isn't about proving people wrong. It's about proving yourself right. And sometimes the best revenge isn't showing people what they missed. It's letting them see it from a distance they can never cross. As for me, I'm taking my Camry to a board meeting. We're discussing a $5 billion expansion. I think I'll send my family a press release about it. After all, that's how they prefer to hear about my life anyway. The invitation to my cousin Victoria's engagement party felt heavy in my hands, though I already knew what it would say. Same as always, please use the service entrance. staff and family assistants through the back door. Because that's what I was to them. The embarrassing cousin who worked in nightlife instead of following the family's prescribed path of law or medicine. The shame of the Bennett family, according to my Aunt Charlotte. Are you really going? My best friend Marcus asked, watching me stare at the gold embossed card. After what happened at Christmas? Christmas. When my Uncle Richard had loudly announced that certain elements of the family should know their place. When Victoria had made me serve drinks because you're used to it anyway, right, Evelyn? I have to, I replied, straightening my simple black dress. They're still family. What they didn't know was that while they were dismissing me as a mere nightclub manager, I was building an empire. The Golden Hour wasn't just any nightclub. It was the first in what would become the most exclusive chain of members-only clubs in the country. But to them I was just Evelyn, the disappointment who'd walked away from law school to serve drinks to drunks. I arrived at Victoria's party exactly on time, walking around to the back door as instructed. The security guard, hired for the evening to keep out undesirables, smirked as he recognized me. Staff entrance is actually around the corner, he said. I'm family. He looked me up and down. Right. Family uses the front door. Not this one, I heard Victoria's voice behind me. She'd clearly been waiting to catch me trying to break the rules. Evelyn knows where she belongs. Don't you, cousin? I turned slowly, taking in her designer dress and dripping diamonds. Congratulations on the engagement, Victoria. Yes, well, she preened. Thomas comes from an excellent family. His father's law firm is very prestigious. Not that you'd understand about prestige. If she only knew that Thomas's father had been begging for membership at the Golden Hour for months. That his prestigious firm handled our legal work without knowing the owner's identity. How is the little bar doing? Victoria continued, her voice sticky with fake concern. Still serving cocktails to college students? I thought about the Golden Hour's waiting list of celebrities, CEOs, and social elites. About our expansion plans into London, Dubai, and Tokyo. About the press calling us the most exclusive club in America. It pays the bills, I said simply. Speaking of paying, my Aunt Charlotte appeared, her smile sharp as a knife. We'll need someone to help serve drinks tonight. Our usual staff called in short. Since you're here anyway. Of course. Why hire actual staff when they could humiliate me instead? The catering company is on their way, I said. I called them myself when Victoria texted about the staffing issue. They both blinked, thrown off script. You what? Victoria sputtered. I own an entertainment venue, I reminded them. I have contacts. The city's best catering service will be here in 20 minutes. I covered the cost as my engagement gift. Before they could respond, I slipped past them through the service entrance. Let them chew on that little detail. Inside, the usual crowd had gathered. My Uncle Richard holding court by the bar, probably bragging about his latest court victory. My cousins James and Elizabeth comparing vacation homes. My parents. Well, they hadn't spoken to me since I left law school 3 years ago. Evelyn, my grandmother's voice cut through the chatter. Come sit with me, dear. Grandmother Rose was different. She'd made her own fortune in real estate back when women weren't supposed to run companies. She'd also been the only one to support my vision for the Golden Hour. Hello, grandmother. I kissed her cheek, settling beside her on the antique sofa. How are you? Better now that you're here. She patted my hand. I saw the article about your club in Forbes. Very impressive. I froze. You read that? She smiled wickedly. Of course. The Golden Hour, America's most exclusive secret. Though they don't know who owns it, do they? Just that it's someone young and female. No one knows, I admitted. It's better that way. Smarter, she agreed. Let them underestimate you. It makes the reveal so much sweeter. Across the room, Victoria was holding court, showing off her massive engagement ring. Thomas's family is so well connected, she gushed. They belong to all the right clubs. Except one, Grandmother Rose murmured, making me smile. The catering staff arrived precisely on time, professional and efficient. Victoria looked almost disappointed that she couldn't make me serve drinks. At least you did something useful, Aunt Charlotte sniffed as she passed our seat. Though hiring help is hardly an appropriate engagement gift. A silver service would have been more suitable. Leave her alone, Charlotte. Grandmother Rose's voice could have frozen fire. Some of us appreciate practical gifts. My phone buzzed, a text from Marcus. Tokyo deal is done. We own the building. I smiled, typing back. Perfect. Start renovation next week. Work? Grandmother Rose asked knowingly. Just expanding the business. Evelyn. Victoria's voice carried across the room. Since you're here, you might as well make yourself useful. We need more ice from the kitchen. I stood up slowly, feeling everyone's eyes on me, waiting to see if I'd comply like always. Actually, I said clearly, I have a business call scheduled, but the catering staff I hired will be happy to help. The room went silent. No one said no to Victoria. Business call? My Uncle Richard scoffed. For your little bar? Surely that can wait. I checked my watch. A simple Cartier that probably cost more than his car. Unfortunately not. When you're expanding internationally, timing is everything. Another shocked silence. Internationally. My mother spoke for the first time in 3 years. What are you talking about? Oh, didn't you hear? Grandmother Rose's voice dripped satisfaction. Evelyn's club is quite successful. Very exclusive. Even your precious Thomas can't get in, Victoria. Victoria's face flushed. That's ridiculous. Thomas belongs to all the best clubs. Except the Golden Hour, I said quietly. Your fiancé's been on our waiting list for 6 months. His father for 8. The silence turned thick enough to cut. You're lying, Victoria finally managed. The Golden Hour is. That's the most exclusive club in the city. They say even celebrities can't get in without member recommendations. You just manage some little nightclub. I stood up, smoothing my dress. Believe what you want, Victoria. I have a call with our Tokyo partners in 10 minutes. Grandmother, dinner soon? Of course, dear. We'll celebrate your expansion properly. As I walked toward the door, the front door this time, I heard my Uncle Richard's strangled voice. Tokyo partners? I paused at the doorway, turning back to face my stunned family. Oh, and Victoria, do tell Thomas that his membership application was declined. We have certain standards to maintain. The look on their faces was better than any engagement gift I could have bought. The aftermath of Victoria's engagement party was exactly what I expected. First came the frantic Google searches. I could track my family members' desperate attempts to verify my connection to the Golden Hour through our website's analytics. Then came the calls. Evelyn, darling. Aunt Charlotte's voice dripped honey through my voicemail. We simply must catch up. Perhaps over drinks at your establishment. Delete. Baby girl, my father tried next. Your mother and I have been thinking. 3 years is too long not to speak. Maybe we could stop by this club of yours. Delete. Victoria's message was my favorite. This is ridiculous, Evelyn. Thomas's father is a managing partner at Sterling and Wright. He doesn't wait for anything. Call me back immediately. I forwarded that one to Marcus, who ran our membership committee. Add another 6 months to their wait time, I instructed. The Golden Hour had become America's most exclusive club by being genuinely impossible to enter. Money couldn't buy membership. Status couldn't guarantee access. We had billionaires on our waiting list and refused celebrities at our door. Our members were carefully chosen. Innovators, creators, genuine thought leaders. Not social climbers with borrowed wealth and bought influence. Everything my family wasn't. 1 week after the engagement party, I sat in my private office above the Golden Hour's main floor, reviewing applications with Marcus. Your cousin Victoria's fiancé tried to bribe our doorman, he reported, sliding over an incident report. Offered him $10,000 to let them in for one night. I smiled, thinking of Thomas's desperation. His father's law firm handled major celebrity clients. Clients who were being embarrassed by their inability to access the Golden Hour. How did James handle it? I asked, referring to our head of security. Took their picture. They're now permanently banned from even applying. Perfect. My phone buzzed. Grandmother Rose. Turn on channel 6, darling. Your aunt is about to embarrass herself. I flicked on the office TV just in time to see Aunt Charlotte being interviewed at some charity gala. Of course our family has memberships at the Golden Hour, she was saying smugly. My niece actually. The reporter cut her off. That's interesting, Mrs. Bennet, because the Golden Hour's management just texted us to say that no member of your family has ever been granted access to the club. They seem quite certain about that. The camera caught Charlotte's face falling before she could recover. Well, I meant we're in the process of. They also added that the Bennett family has been permanently banned from applying for membership due to repeated attempts to circumvent their application process. I took a sip of champagne, enjoying Charlotte's very public humiliation. Our PR team was excellent at protecting our exclusivity. Your family's having a rough week, Marcus observed. Your Uncle Richard tried to sue us for discrimination. I laughed. How did that go? Our lawyers, his own firm by the way, explained that being entitled isn't a protected class. My phone buzzed again. Victoria, this time, you're ruining my engagement. Thomas's clients are mocking him because they can't get him into your stupid club. His father is furious. Fix this. I typed back. The back door is still available for staff positions. She didn't appreciate the irony. The next day, my parents showed up at the Golden Hour's front entrance during operating hours. A bold move, considering they hadn't spoken to me since calling me a disgrace for leaving law school. I'm sorry, James told them politely. The club is members only. We're the owner's parents, my mother insisted. The owner left specific instructions about family members, James replied. You're welcome to use the service entrance to submit an application. My father's face turned purple. Tao, see here. The service entrance is around back, James continued smoothly. Though I should mention there's currently a 10-year waiting list. Longer for previously banned individuals. I watched through the security feed as they stood there, experiencing what it felt like to be denied entry. To be told they weren't good enough. To be directed to the back door. Karma has a beautiful sense of poetry. The following week, I received an invitation to Victoria's wedding. The venue had been changed to the Golden Hour. They didn't even ask us, Marcus said, showing me the announcement Victoria had posted on social media. Just assumed they could book it. I picked up my phone, dialing Victoria's number. She answered on the first ring. Finally, we need to discuss the wedding arrangements. Thomas's father insists. The Golden Hour is not available for your wedding. I cut her off. What? But we already announced it. Thomas's clients are finally impressed with him again. You can't. I can and I am. Perhaps you could use the country club instead. I hear they're less particular about their guest list. This is because of the backdoor thing, isn't it? She accused. You're still bitter about having to use the service entrance at family events. No, Victoria. This is because actions have consequences. You treated me like staff for years. Now you're learning what it feels like to be excluded. We're family. Family doesn't make their own flesh and blood use the service entrance. Family doesn't treat success as a competition. Family supports each other. I'll tell everyone you're the owner, she threatened. I'll ruin your precious anonymity. I laughed. Go ahead. We're announcing it next week anyway. Local woman builds billion-dollar club empire after family treats her like staff. I'm sure the press will love that angle. She hung up. The story broke exactly as planned. The Golden Hour's mysterious owner revealed as the same cousin Victoria's family had forced to use the back door. The society pages ate it up. Exclusive club owner's secret past, from service entrance to soup. Family banned from daughter's own club after years of mistreatment, backdoor justice. How one woman built an empire while her family watched. Grandmother Rose hosted a celebration dinner at her estate. Just us two toasting to success and karma. Your Aunt Charlotte had to resign from 3 charity boards, she informed me gleefully. Apparently, being publicly exposed as a social climber who couldn't access the Golden Hour was too embarrassing. Thomas's father had to explain to his celebrity clients why his own daughter-in-law's cousin banned him from the most exclusive club in America, I added. And Victoria? Changed her wedding venue to the country club, where she belongs. We clinked glasses. A month later, I stood in the Golden Hour's entrance, watching as Leonardo DiCaprio chatted with Elon Musk while Jeff Bezos waited for a table. Our London location was opening next week. Tokyo the week after. My phone buzzed with a text from Victoria. People keep asking me about you at events. This is humiliating. I typed back. There's always the service entrance. She didn't reply. The Golden Hour continued to grow. We added locations in Dubai, Paris, Singapore. Each one more exclusive than the last. Each one with a strict no Bennett family policy. My parents tried once more to reconcile. They sent a letter through their lawyer. Dear Evelyn, we realize now that we were wrong. Your success has shown us that. Perhaps we could meet to discuss rebuilding our relationship? We're willing to use any entrance you specify. I sent back a copy of the same note they'd written when I left law school. You're no longer welcome in this family. Please use the back door on your way out. They got the message. Last week, Victoria's wedding photos appeared in the society pages. The country club looked nice enough, but everyone knew it was her second choice. The article mentioned that her original venue, the Golden Hour, had refused to host the event. The owner, it noted, who happens to be the bride's cousin, declined to comment on why the prestigious club rejected the booking. Those sources say it might have something to do with the family's habit of making certain relatives use the service entrance. Yesterday, I approved plans for our newest location. It's being built right next door to Victoria's Country Club. Members only. Front door only. No Bennetts allowed. Sometimes the best revenge isn't serving a cold dish. It's serving no dish at all. At least not to family members who think you belong at the service entrance. But if they're really desperate to get in, well, I hear the back door is always open. For staff positions only, of course.